On July 1st, 1989, Daniel Ricciardo was born in Perth, in Australia's western region. Daniel's father, Giuseppe Ricciardo, an Italian immigrant, married a woman named Grace, who was born and raised in Australia. Today, Daniel is a Formula One race car driver for Team McLaren, and although he is not one of McLaren's top drivers, he predicts that he and his team have a championship victory on the horizon. So today we're looking at Daniel Ricciardo's crazy championship prediction for McLaren, plus other related F1 news. You do not want to miss this. First up, lighting an inspirational spark for motorsports. Growing up in the suburb of Duncraig in the northern region of Perth, Daniel was exposed to the world of motorsports at a young age. Daniel's father, Giuseppe, was a race car driver who often raced at the Barbagallo Raceway in the nearby city of Wanneroo. Growing up, Daniel idolized championship race car driver Dale Earnhardt, who, as we all know, tragically passed away after wrecking at the 2001 Daytona 500. When Daniel started racing at lower levels, he quickly acquired the nickname the Honey Badger. In an interview, Daniel once explained the rationale for the nickname and said, "It's supposed to be the most fearless animal in the animal kingdom. You look at it, it seems quite cute and cuddly, but as soon as someone crosses its territory in a way that it doesn't like, it turns into a savage." Next up, Daniel transitions from the Red Bull F1 team to the McLaren F1 team. After leaving the Red Bull team, Daniel signed a contract with the McLaren F1 team. The McLaren team's ownership believes that Daniel has the ability to become one of McLaren's top drivers and can help the team win its next championship. At the time of this recording, Daniel is currently the highest paid driver on the McLaren F1 team. In May of 2020, Daniel signed a 3-year contract with McLaren worth more than $17 million. Daniel's contract is valued at being worth $6 million more than Lando Norris, who is one of McLaren team's top drivers. At present, Norris is currently outperforming Daniel, his Australian teammate. However, Daniel has never done better with qualifying times. Up next on the McLaren team, it's Ricciardo versus Norris. According to Zak Brown, the McLaren team's chief executive officer, the team is extremely excited to have Daniel and Lando on the team and are confident that the Ricciardo and Norris matchup will bring a championship victory home to McLaren in the near future. But if Brown, Ricciardo, and Norris are going to take the McLaren team to a historic championship victory, they're going to have to punch a hole through the Mercedes and Red Bull F1 teams first, and that will be a daunting task. Ricciardo and Norris will have to outperform drivers like Sebastian Vettel and Max Verstappen, who've been doing an outstanding job leading for the Red Bull team. From the Mercedes team, Ricciardo and Norris will have to overcome powerhouse drivers such as Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas. So as you can see, the McLaren team has its work cut out for them, but Ricciardo believes it is doable. Next up, what the future holds for Ricciardo. Ricciardo has a home with McLaren until at least 2023, and at 32 years old with seasoned experience and a proven track record under his belt, Ricciardo is confident that what he brings to the McLaren table could be enough to help propel the team to a championship victory. At the same time, Ricciardo admits that it will be a process that could take at least a few seasons to come to fruition. Recently, Ricciardo had this to say to Australia reporters: "I understand that the team is on a great trajectory, but now there are still a few hurdles in place that are probably going to stop us. Let's say fighting for a championship for the next year or two." It's clear from Ricciardo that his confidence is where it needs to be, and as we've seen time and time again in F1, it usually accounts for more than half the battle. Ricciardo also had this to say regarding his hopes for victory, but it's a bit of a reality now that the wind tunnel is a pretty big piece of the puzzle. It might be the last piece of the puzzle for the team. What Ricciardo is referring to is a brand new wind tunnel that the McLaren F1 team is set to build sometime in 2022. The state-of-the-art project is expected to be worth somewhere in the ballpark of $60 million. Up next in the world of professional motorsports, it's all about driver mentality. Since leaving the Red Bull team, Ricciardo has been trying to better dial in his mindset. He recently had this to say: "I think looking at it now, I really look to try and keep building on where I am now over the next couple of years with McLaren, and then hopefully put myself in a prime spot for that 2024. Ricciardo admits that his comment may seem like it's just big talk, that it may sound crazy to talk that far ahead. However, he insists that there are times when a driver must think in such a way. And for Ricciardo, now is the time. Although Ricciardo is yet to win a podium finish with McLaren, much of the reason seemed to be related to issues with McLaren's MCL 35M race car and its braking system. CEO Zak Brown was concerned throughout the summer that Ricciardo was failing to live up to his hype and expectations, but now thinks that if Ricciardo can dial in his mindset, he'll live up to his hype. After all, Ricciardo is the winner of 7 Grand Prix championships, so it was a bit of a shock when he joined the McLaren team and failed to hit the ground running. Brown essentially believes that if Ricciardo can become one with the McLaren MCL 35M, he'll get back to the high-level performances that the world saw when he was with the Red Bull team. Next up, we'll shift gears and bring you some of the latest news in the world of F1. So let's talk about Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen. No surprise that recently Red Bull has had a bit of a tough luck. Hamilton predicts that in the upcoming second half of the season, that Red Bull and Verstappen are going to come back stronger and come at him with everything they've got. After Hamilton's outstanding performance in Hungary, Sebastian Vettel and his Aston Martin were disqualified after they failed to provide a sample of their fuel. Because of the disqualification, Hamilton was bumped up from his third-place finish to second place. Valtteri Bottas hit Verstappen during the race in Hungary on the first lap, and it was a rough race for Verstappen, who would ultimately finish in 10th place. Like Hamilton, though, after Vettel's disqualification, Verstappen was bumped up to 9th place. Before the British Grand Prix, Verstappen was ahead of Hamilton by 33 points, but now Hamilton has an 8-point lead in the standings. Up next, what we can expect from these top contenders in the second half of the season. When asked about what he thought the second season would look like, Hamilton had this to say: "Gonna be close. It's going to be tough this second half of the season. The first half was one of the toughest. I expect it's going to be pretty much the same in the second half, if not more difficult." Hamilton had this to say about the second season as well: "We've seen the speed and competitiveness from the Red Bull team in the past. Of course, as we've gone through the season, they have only gotten stronger and stronger. It's been harder for us as we've gone on. We had a difficult patch, but we got back in terms of operating how we have in the past to a good place." After the Hungarian Grand Prix, it was reported that Hamilton may be suffering from long-term symptoms of COVID-19. In December of 2020, Hamilton contracted the potentially lethal disease, which is believed to have long-term symptoms and side effects. After the Hungarian GP, Hamilton confessed that he felt tired and that his equilibrium and balance felt a bit off. The 36-year-old hasn't felt his health was functioning at an optimal level since contracting COVID-19. That's why over the course of the summer break, Hamilton spent a great deal of time focusing on his health, fitness, and well-being. Finally, are you ready for an explosive second half of the F1 season? We certainly are. One thing that has become clear is that the 3 most competitive teams, McLaren, Red Bull, and Mercedes, are gearing up for an epic battle at a time in a world still in the midst of a global pandemic. It's our hope that all of the teams, drivers, and other staff are able to take all of the necessary precautions to protect themselves and their loved ones as the second half of the season gets underway. We hope that all the drivers are healthy, focused, and, as Ricciardo said, perfectly dialed in with not only their cars, but their mindsets. Thank you for listening and watching. More exciting and informative videos are on the way.